Essendon. So a lot of free agents for the Dons. So they signed Goldstein, Mackay, and Gresham. And then late in with Dersma, which is very surprising. And then the Zerk Thatcher and Ambrosio deals got done quite late.
Yeah, probably the busiest club. Maybe not from a trade perspective, but obviously free agency, they got some stuff done quite early. Yeah, first day of trade period, they got their free agency business all lined up nice and quickly. So Goldstein and Mackay joined quite early, and they eventually got Gresham done. And then literally in the final, 10 minutes of trade period, got that Zerk Thatcher Dersma deal. They wanted a straight swap. I didn't think they were ever going to get that. There was no way Port was going to allow that to happen. So they gave up, I think, 3 really late picks, which, they might not have used. So that's great for the power. But in this trade, they get Xavier Dersma in, who's, got plenty of upside, certainly a more valued player than Brandon Zerk Thatcher, you'd think. Was only drafted 5 years ago out of the first round. And it'll be interesting to see how he kind of complements that midfield mix on the wing or at half forward when they've got guys like Archie Perkins, Sam Durham, Nick Martin kind of floating around. Dylan Shield stays at the Bombers, so that was kind of an interesting one to keep an eye on throughout. But they'll hold on to him. Goldstein, I think we'll be seeing minutes next year. I think they want 2 rucks, and I think ideally they want to be playing Draper and Bryan. But Goldstein's a great supporting option, or he might be that second in line ahead of Bryan if they think
Have they said how long his contract is?
I think it's just the 1 year.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty short deal, whereas Mackay and Gresham are on much longer deals with obviously much more money. We've talked about both Mackay and Gresham a fair bit on this show, and just how well they can help the Bombers, but just at the same time, how much they could also put them in a bit of a strangle if things don't go their way, given the money they're on. But no, I think Mackay is going to flourish in an environment where he's surrounded by some other decent defenders. And then Gresham as well. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him, if it's more of a permanent forward. I don't think he's going to be very far up the queue for midfield minutes under Brad Scott next year, especially when they add in someone like Dersma. Zerk Thatcher, yes, it's a loss, but they had Mackay coming in, so I think they'll be happy with that change. And then D'Ambrosio, they will be quite happy in the end, just given he could have easily walked to delisted free agency. Instead, they got 2 picks in return for him. So I think they'll be quite happy with how that one turned out. So yeah, that was a good off season for the Bombers. They wanted to be aggressive. They were aggressive, and it sounds like they're still well prepared to add to their list next year if they need to. They've got their first round pick, which is in the top 10 for this year's draft. They're well placed. It's just going to be really interesting to see what level a Mackay and a Gresham can go to. If they do hit their potential, then it's going to bode very well for the Bombers.
Yeah, classic Essendon off season. I think they sign a lot of big names and then see how it all plays out. And last off season for Dodoro.
Yeah, he'll be floating around a little bit, but Matt Rosa kind of takes the keys now.
Yeah.
He'll be still helping, advising, mentoring in a way. He's the longest serving list manager around. He's got
and the most famous, I think.
He is. I think he's a face that kind of drives clicks for a lot of people, and you either love him or you hate him. And that's even Bombers supporters as well. Like Bombers supporters either love him or hate him. But no, he's obviously done a pretty decent job, and to be in a role for that long, you are doing something right. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of work through things over the next few years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.